It's the end of Season 3 of FAS TV, and we've taken a look back at some of the highlights from our farmers and crofters who have some important messages to share.
So I attended SRUC Barony on block release and it was an amazing experience. It's really rewarding getting to be able to see your animals' lives right from the very start to the very end, ensuring they've got the best life possible through every stage. Working part-time on the family farm is something I'm glad I did because it did push me to go out and get new experience. It's also made me gain a lot of confidence working at the marts and the abattoir among local crofters and farmers, and kind of built my profile in the community. In the farming community, sometimes people struggle with, they just like to follow tradition, but I think it's important for the young workforce to try new things and not be scared of failing, because that's the only way you learn at the end of the day.
I feel it's really important to have the need to have a job alongside crofting, because the crofting side of it it's not a money making, it's not a profit making business, I would say. It is just a hobby and an interest that I feel is important to kind of carry on. We always offer lifts to other junior members so that it's easier for them to attend and they don't have to rely on their parents all the time. It's really important to have these events so that it kind of provides a social atmosphere, because farming and crofting can be quite a lonely, like a lone working environment, and especially during winter there's such dark nights. It's good to kind of get folk out there and socialising and speaking to other folk, like-minded folk, that you can just have a laugh with. Having the club in Shetland is such an important thing because we're such a rural community. Like sometimes it can feel quite disconnected, and especially like working on a croft or working on a farm, you're quite often working alone. So having that social aspect is so important, to go out and meet like-minded folk and just have a laugh. Just have some time away from worries at the croft and worrying about the weather and various things. And as well, like during the winter, the nights get so dark so early. Having that support network is so important.
The feedback you're getting from folk when they open up their box and they go, wow, look at this is great. And then the next day they're like, we had steak for tea last night, or we had sausages for breakfast this morning, or we had a lamb sandwich or whatever. They send you pictures and they're like, oh, this is lovely, this is the best I've tasted in years. And it's that, for me, it's that direct connection with a customer. And it feels so much more satisfying, and it just makes me happy, basically.
Unforeseen changes to your health, life or business can have a negative impact on your mental health and well-being. Support and advice from organisations not directly involved in your business can be of great benefit. RSABI is one organisation committed to supporting farmers and crofters across Scotland.
I think the top piece of advice to farmers or crofters who feel they might be struggling is to talk to someone, not to hesitate, not to put it off, but they feel like things are getting on top of them, just to pick up the phone, to reach out to a friend, a neighbour, a family member, or to call RSABI. We have a 24-hour helpline. There's always someone there to listen, but it's crucial not to hesitate to do it, because the sooner we hear from someone, the sooner we can start to help and get them back on track.
Biodiversity and climate change are obviously hot political topics, so even just from a business perspective, it's something that we're going to be expected to do whether or not you like it or agree with it. So I think it's something that sensibly you need to be aware of. But also we are the biggest, custodians of land in Scotland, are people who farm and within agriculture and forestry. So if we don't take a bit of responsibility to look after it, then it's going to be destroying it for future generations. Daniel and SAC and the FAS funding that I've received is been absolutely key to me being able to do what I've needed to do, and with the confidence that I've been able to do it in. So yeah, it's been great, and I hope that, you know, Daniel and I will continue to build our relationship, and he can help me as the next challenges you know, come to fruition, I think.
It's always been important to me to mentor young people because my profession was teaching. So most teachers can spot potential, and we all have different potentials. We have different levels of potential. Lawrence has been so good that people have recognised how good he is, and naturally he's been headhunted. And I'm pleased to say that my job of mentoring Lawrence is now at an end. Lawrence has been offered a terrific opportunity over on the east, not least because it's his best friend is over there as well, and so he's going on to a tenancy and working full-time on a big cereal and beef farm. So now I'm at the next stage, which is stepping back but bringing another young person on who is quite different from Lawrence, totally different. So I'm going to have to adapt to somebody else, but I will still be there to mentor, and the key person in that is going to be Daniel from SAC, and he's going to help and make sure that this new, well, we won't call it a partnership yet because these things take time, but he will make sure that things are done right and that Carbeth is farmed properly the way I would always have farmed it, because this young man thinks much the same way as I do about the environment.
Farmers love their farming, okay, and a lot of farmers like working alone and things like that. And that's good when it's going great, you know, when you're getting good prices and good returns. But farming when you're struggling to, you know, pay bills, or even if you've got the best sheep or cattle, you know, or you can't afford to do a tractor repair or something like that, and it's restricting you from doing what you really want to do to improve the business, that's when it gets really tricky. Like a lot of farmers' sons or daughters, really I was greatly encouraged into it. I wasn't forced into it, but encouraged, and from the day I could drive a pedal tractor, I knew farming was for me, so there was no doubt about it. Only playing for football for Scotland would have stopped me, but that didn't work out. So, but then I went to Crofts, Aberdeen at Agricultural College, and it changed my life. It really did. It was fantastic, and I had 4 of the best years of my life up there. It was brilliant, just mixing with like-minded people like myself. But I also joined Young Farmers as well, which was just as equally important. Really enjoyed going up, spent a lot of time in Young Farmers, meeting a lot of pals. So that was, Crofts and Young Farmers were 2 key things for me, really. I think mental health is, it's really important we talk about it in farming. And I also think just throughout the years that there's not the folk on farms now, as you know. I mean, when we grew up, yeah, there was some tough times as well, but there was always a buzz around the place. We had 2 workers. It was my granddad, my dad, and mum worked on the farm as well. And you know, there was always lorries in for tatties and things like that. There was always folk popping in. There was always a tatty dresser going. There was always something going on. And nowadays on the farm here, it can be really quiet, you know. And I don't like that so much. And I think just having, even if you had a couple of farm workers to work with, although not everyone likes that, but it's just somebody to talk to. And it doesn't need to be like pouring your heart out with all your problems, just a general hello, how are you getting on? I think trying to get non-farming hobbies as well, you know, is a thing. There's so many things you could do around here, fishing, shooting, or just something to take your mind off it and meet maybe different folk as well. That, you know, farmers need to, but they grudge themselves time, you see, I think.
Shetland Wool Week has grown into an internationally acclaimed event where locals come together to share their traditions, culture and heritage to visitors.
Wool Week is it's really a 10-day event which hosts lots of different classes, talks, pop-up studios. What else goes on? Open days and drop-in sessions.
Lots and lots of different things, and it's all over Shetland as well. So there's community halls that set on events and classes in Lerwick, and so it's a very busy 10 days.
I think that Shetland Wool Week has kind of brought everybody together a bit, in that there's always been crofting, there's always been yarn producers, there's always been yarn sellers and knitters, Farrell knitters, lace knitters. But in the past, folk have kind of been very unrecognised and their work maybe not seen as an art form. But now with a Wool Week thing, it's kind of everybody's involved. I think it's just as the world gets more and more generic, folk are desperate for that bit of culture and things that are different and unique. And we've certainly got that here. We have a unique wildlife, and it's, as Donna says, it's definitely worth protecting.
The kind of tours that I provide they're mostly general tours that can, for somebody here in Shetland for the first time, to give them a really good introduction to the place. But a lot of it is I'm focusing on the history, the archaeology and the culture and the landscapes of Shetland. And also incorporating maybe a bit of the wildlife and the geology. And also it's been great that we've been able to bring our crofting side of things into the tours as well. But Wool Week is showcasing, I think, all of Shetland's crofting to visitors from all over the world, which is really great.